Let me now introduce to you our guest for this afternoon, the first panel discussion. Mr. Sanjay Podder, Global MD Technology, Sustainability and Innovation from Accenture will be with us on the stage for the first discussion. We also have with us Anjalli Kumar, Chief Sustainability Officer at Zomato. Here with us, Yashika Singh, Chief Corporate Affairs Officer and Sustainability Head, PepsiCo India and South Asia, to also join in. And also welcoming Nikunj Dube, Director and Head, Care Edge ESG Ratings. Warm welcome. Huge round of applause for the first set of panelists. I'll be moderating this panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you everyone, and thank you to all my panelists. The first one, so let's kick this start off with something that all of us, I'm sure, use on an everyday basis, Zomato. And Anjali, we are going to be starting off. You have truly made life indispensable with Zomato, with Blinkit. We can't think of lives without a food delivery app today in our mobile phones or in our lives today. But, be things as may, but I want to understand from you, all of us deep down, we may not know the numbers, but we certainly know that with every order that we make, whether it is in e-commerce or is it in food delivery, we are actually contributing increasingly to the carbon footprint. So help us understand, when it comes to the corporate commitments to sustainability, how have things progressed from the time, it's been 3 years since you got listed as well, and over the years, how have you seen that change? Is there a remarkable improvement in the way we handle finances, commitment to sustainability?
Thank you so much for having Zomato and Blinkit. And, there are two more companies in the group, Hyperpure, which serves the restaurant industry. And hopefully, you will all soon have District on your phones. District helps you discover dining options and events in your neighborhood. So definitely check it out. I think to answer the question, there are three ways in which things have changed ever since Zomato has listed. Firstly, we've changed our name to Eternal, and that should point to how we see the future and how we see our role in building towards something that is eternal. But importantly, on the ESG front, there are three major changes. The first has been the broadening of ESG issues that companies like ours are expected to address today. This has happened due to a mix of reasons. The first being BRSR reporting. It has, the shift from voluntary reporting to mandatory reporting has forced a lot of companies like us also to look at all the issues and, be answerable to investors on all issues. For instance, it's not enough to talk about carbon and carbon footprint. We must also answer questions on water and waste and gender diversity and MSMEs in our value chain, right? So I think there's been a broadening, and suddenly we're having to look at multiple issues, which I think is a good thing. We've also taken on goals in multiple areas. The second way in which things have changed is the deepening of efforts by companies like ours. So for instance, 90% of Zomato's emissions are scope 3. In fact, 80%, as you rightly pointed out, are from deliveries that go to your households or your offices, or very often to hospitals and hostels, right? So how does one engage with one's value chain, and that too a value chain that comprises migrants, students who are all using their own vehicles to undertake deliveries, right? So we've had to do some really, you can say, remarkable and very deep engagement with that value chain. For instance, just yesterday, we launched an EV rental fleet for delivery partners comprising high-speed EVs. Why would a food delivery company get into EV rentals, right? We're not an OEM, we're not a charging operator, but we've had to go in that direction because we need to empower and enable that ecosystem. We even have an integration with all the rental agencies so that if you, suppose you want to onboard as a delivery partner, you can discover EVs on rent directly through the delivery partner app in your area. So we have all their inventory sitting in the delivery partner app, which is again a lot of very deep integrations required to make that possible. And the last way in which things have changed is in communication. You know, previously I think companies had a very comfortable way of communicating. We put out reports, right? But today the communication is 24/7, multi-format, multiple stakeholders. So not only do I have to answer to investors, I have to answer to consumers, I have to answer to delivery partners, I have to answer to my restaurant partners, and therefore programs have to be designed keeping all of these in mind. So we just, for instance, organized a packathon because restaurants choose their own packaging for delivery. We don't actually tell them what to choose. So an Indian restaurant will typically choose sturdy plastic boxes, whereas a continental will typically choose corrugated cardboard, right? But we decided to call restaurants and startups and worked with Startup India to bring everyone together to say, guys, there are lots of sustainable packaging options available, even for Indian cuisine, even for Oriental cuisine. Why don't we have a conversation about what is required to help us get to a plastic-free future? So we had that event also recently, but we have to do more of such things. Bring multiple stakeholders together, else we're not going to make progress.
Absolutely, that's a wonderful starting point. Let me also bring in Yashika now. You know, you are also from the FMCG industry. You know, you showed us a beautiful video right there. Help us understand when it comes to your initiatives regarding sustainable agriculture. What is it that the company is doing at this point?
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm very proud to have shown that film. That film really, it's a beautiful film, but what it's really talking about is the work that we do around regenerative agriculture. The way we look at sustainability, we look at it along our entire value chain. So starting from, you know, agriculture down to our packaging and then finally to the final product. We really see sustainability sits within all aspects of the value chain, and it's intertwined in the way we do our business, right? So at the start of it is ensuring that the potatoes and other materials that we procure are all grown through a package of practices called regenerative agriculture, which is really around ensuring that the soil quality is improved, that water is optimized, water usage is optimized, and that we are also looking at reduction in GHG emissions. So almost all our agriculture produce and procurement will adhere to those principles. Yeah, so that's on the agri side. We can talk about others.
Absolutely. We will definitely pull more threads there and understand more deeper when it comes to the initiatives there. But let me bring in Sanjay at this point in time. Sanjay, technology has to be talked about. We are living in the era of technology. And even when it comes to climate change, action against climate crisis that we are looking at, I'm sure technology is going to be playing a very, very important role. Help us understand how is technology today enabling climate action in the corporate world, how our company is embracing technology at this point in time. What are some of the remarkable technology shifts or innovations that you are looking at that could change the way we look at climate action and in the future?
Thank you so much, Sakshi. Technology is a common denominator, whatever Anjalli talked about, Yashika spoke about, whether it's sustainable value chain, whether it's regenerative agriculture, nature and biodiversity, ESG reporting, in any area you look, addressing all the sustainable development goals, you need technology because as we say, these are exponential problems. You need technology, you need exponential solutions. Some of the very important technology that we are seeing now is obviously AI. We are now living in the world of generative AI, agentic AI, right? So AI is going to be pervasive. I'm sure everyone in this room, you are doing your chat GPTs or Gemini or something, right? And you're, without even understanding, we are coming so close to AI, it's pervasive. So we look at technology in two ways, the role of technology when it comes to sustainability. One is sustainability by technology. And second is sustainability in technology. when I say by technology, it's, how does technology allow you to solve some of the sustainability challenges? Whether it is empowerment of the population, protecting biodiversity, so on and so forth. But what we typically miss is equivalent to the side effect of a medicine, right? Technology itself is a very big contributor to the greenhouse gas emission. In fact, by 2040, 14% of global greenhouse gas emission will be contributed by digital technology. And mind you, when this study was done, generative AI was not there. In fact, now with generative AI, the projections are, because of the AI factories that are coming up every week, new AI factories, by 2030, the total electricity needed for these AI factories and data centers is equivalent to the electricity Canada needs every year. And the amount of water you need to cool these data centers, to do power generation, equivalent to the water that entire United Kingdom uses. And this is just going to increase. I'm giving you 2030 projections. Now, are we going to stop technologies like AI? Absolutely not. But there are a lot of interesting decarbonization levers organizations can take, because many organizations, including Zomato, for example, you are digital organizations actually. While your supply chain has a lot of physical element, but Zomato is completely a digital platform, right? A lot of AI, so all these organizations will have to align their business strategy, their sustainability strategy, and their technology strategy. And we have done many studies of all global companies, and we realized that the successful companies, the big ones, they are outperforming their competition 2.6 times in total shareholder value by integrating these three strategies, right? So that's the role of tech. You have to look at tech in a very integral way to your business strategy and sustainability strategy. And the good news is you can do a lot to decarbonize with help of tech. That's the answer we were actually waiting for to solve our sustainability challenges which we are looking at.
Absolutely. So we have to bank on technology. Nikunj, coming to you, a lot of people now are wondering whether companies, even though they say that they're working a lot in the field of ESG, are truly working or not. There is something which is called as greenwashing. So I want to understand from you, how do you differentiate between real impact, greenwashing, and how are you tackling all of these issues right now?
Thanks. So I'll start with the fact that greenwashing was only a part when ESG had started, came to India. People were not knowledgeable about it, and there was a lot of understanding gap. Resultant to which, what was asked was that you start reporting, but clear guidelines, a capacity building around it was not exactly clearly done. And hence resulted, what happened was data were getting reported where inaccuracies were happening. Now, there was one set of people who were assessing companies based only on public available information and without any consultation with entities. And this led to the problem of greenwashing not going away because there is no consultation happening with the entities. I think this is where the regulator has also brought in a different model, which is called issuer paid model, where the entities pay for their own ratings. Now, when you have that as a model, the thing that you have is the process which involves a deeper consultation with the ESG team of these organizations, looking at the holistic data input together, identifying what are the outliers that are happening over there, and then asking the company that you're rating or the company that you're assessing on the data that why is such kind of an inaccuracy or your data being an outlier. Once they are able to explain that thing is the point of time where you get a much better understanding about where the greenwashing is happening or not. And we have seen this with our multiple examples where we have led to corrections of the data which are published in BRSR. We have seen where companies have said, this is what we do, but when we saw at the implementation side that the things are not happening at the ground level, which is why it is important that it is not only you just discuss, you actually go and visit the plants and the premises of these organizations, see how these ESG initiatives that the companies are talking about are actually getting implemented at the ground level. So this kind of a due diligence is something which is actually much more required.
Absolutely. Anjali, I'm going to come to you. You did explain to us what is it that companies in your industry should be doing. What are you at Zomato already doing at this point in time? The targets that you have set for yourself as far as sustainability is concerned. But I also want to understand on the role of partnerships in the world today. How do you really see partnerships between peers, across the sectors, with supply chains, public-private partnership as well, in dealing with climate crisis much better?
Absolutely. In fact, I'll take the example of our EV program. So there are three ways in which we try to get delivery partners to switch to EVs, and it's a very tough challenge. Like I mentioned, most of them will work with us only 47 days of the year. They are migrants, 50% are migrants, 20% are students. So they don't necessarily they want a bike that's reliable anywhere they go, And therefore, how do we persuade them to try an EV, How do we help them overcome their range anxiety? So what we do is we have partnered with 40 EV ecosystem players across the country, and that is how we have been able to get 37,000 partners on our platform using EVs in 400 cities. Because as you and I know, the charging density in a smaller city is not the same as a Bangalore and a Delhi. But the good news is, thanks to these partnerships, and we've actually helped EV leasing agencies grow their business, thanks to these partnerships, cities like Delhi, for instance, more than a fifth of our deliveries are on EVs. Bangalore, 1/4 of deliveries are on EVs. And so we're super encouraged. And today we're running pilots on offering charging and swapping at Blinkit dark stores for our partners. Now, all of this is powered by partnerships. So any kind of sustainability progress, frankly, rests on the power of collaboration with like-minded, relevant, and sort of tech-led players, because you'll not get scale until you integrate tech.
Can I just add
Yes,
to
yes,
that,
Shikha.
Sakshi? I mean, Anjali, if you find that difficult, try doing electrification of a fleet, which is across different sizes across the country, looking at, over 1 lakh rides, and where the equipment itself is not available. And that's what we are trying to do, and that's why I completely agree with you that partnerships is the way to go. I think if I were to reflect on that, when it comes to I'm taking off, Sakshi, I'm not waiting for your question. When you're trying to sort of, as a company, and I'm sure others may have felt it as well, is the ecosystem ready for your ambitions? I think that's one huge factor, that many of the companies, we have huge ambitions. For us, electrification of our fleet, whether it's regenerative agriculture or even dealing with post-consumption plastic waste, all of this, our ambitions are sometimes held back by, is the ecosystem ready, right? And I think it's a three-way process. The first is, those of us on this side need to give a demand signal. We need to be going out there giving a signal to OEMs that PepsiCo is ready to do this, PepsiCo wants to do this. Please help us. Please help us build, trucks of a particular size that allows us to move X number of kilometers such that we can do this. The second is, of course, regulation and government, and, there's a lot of support on EV from the government, but a lot of that is also needs to move to the commercial vehicle side as well. And third is, of course, supply. So demand, supply, and regulation. Those would be the three, and that's sort of an important factor when driving this. And one more factor, of course, is how to pay for it. How to pay for the targets and the ambitions and intentions that we have. And for that to happen, I think as companies, we are all trying to find innovative ways. Technology is a big enabler for us, to find innovation, but also to the consumer. There's a gap between the consumer's purpose-driven intent and their ability to pay and willingness to pay. Sure. And how do you bridge that? Because that's going to be important to find the resources to drive sustainability.
That's a key point, and I'm sure during the course of our conversations today, a lot will be talked about funding aspect as well. Technology, Sanjay, again. A lot of people are talking about green software, sustainable AI. Could you help us understand what are these new technologies and how should corporates now include all of this in sustainable planning?
Yes, absolutely. As we discussed, tech is going to play a big role. But tech needs to be used in a very responsible and resource-efficient way. And that's where we use the terms like responsible AI, green AI, and green software, as you rightly said. And also bring in the nuance of ecosystem in your earlier question, because a lot of these areas are evolving. As AI is coming up, people are looking at the potential, impact of AI on society, on environment, and asking what can we do about it to minimize that impact. And the consortiums, like for example, the Green Software Foundation, which we created with many of the top tech organizations and large businesses around the world, the consortiums, they're coming together and they are not waiting for some standards to evolve. They are defining the standards. Last year, we created a new standard called software carbon intensity, which very quickly became an ISO standard and allows you to now decide, for example, what is the emission per 100 frauds that a bank is detecting with help of AI, or what is the emission for per 100 deliveries that Zomato may do, for example, right? So you need standards, for example, best practices. And when you talk about the role of tech, therefore, responsible, because as you know, AI has hallucination, there's risk of the safety, there's risk of privacy. There are many different AI risks and also the risk of environmental impact.
Sure.
But the good news is you can solve all this by using the best practices, which we want to make it available to all large businesses so that they get the benefit of AI without impacting the environment and society.
Time's up, but I'll take just last 30 seconds with you, Nikunj. If you could help us understand what do corporates need to know and adhere to? Are ESG disclosures enough, or is there much more needs to be done there?
So I'll just break it up into small bullet points. See, the shift is within this whole ESG is already happening. The requirement has now moved from just having a lot of data availability to more in terms of the quality of the data, which is the most important part there. We have finance as an enabler. You have financial institutions already working towards integrating ESG performance into their own appraisal mechanisms. Once that comes into play, you will have the data quality being questioned much more. So then this becomes much more important from that angle. And since we're talking climate, every organization needs to start assessing climate risk into their day-to-day operations and understand how physical and transition risks are going to affect them in the coming time. So I think that is where we stand.
Thank you so much, Nikunj, Yashika, Ashima, and Sanjay for those insightful words. This is not enough, but you have the whole day to really listen to a lot of stalwarts from the world of sustainability, climate change. Thank you so much. I want all of you to just stand by with me here while I invite Siddharth Basu Chatterjee to please come up and present a token of appreciation to all our panelists. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.